Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everyone. There is a big focus in the last few months on cultural awareness. We have so much diversity around us, and when it's not recognized or it goes down the path it should not go, that creates some challenges, especially mental health challenges. We're going to start there today. A little deeper conversation. Not that the rest aren't when I get together with her, but this one definitely trending. She is the woman behind a wonderful mental health center in Massachusetts called New Beginnings. And they work with people in that area. They work with people virtually. She's got an amazing team. She's amazing. Sherri Alexandrovich, our Diamond of the Decade, is back. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How about yourself?
Real good, real good. And this topic seems to be trending. The cultural diversity, the awareness. And I don't know why people are more aware now. We've already, in my view, there's always been different cultures around, but unfortunately, we get divided. And ultimately, if you're somebody that feels like they're left out of the cold or in the cold, then mental health can suffer. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Yeah, so I would agree that the cultural piece, I think over the last 4 years, we have definitely been getting more attention and more traction towards. The reason that I kind of wanted to touch upon that today is as I'm reviewing for one of our quarterly audits that's coming up this week, one of the topics that they're pointing us towards is a focus more on what's called cultural humility versus cultural competence. And so as I've been doing some reading on kind of what are those core differences and how does that relate to the mental health field and the clients that we're treating, is the what they're asking us to lean more towards in the humility piece of it is just the understanding, the commitment to understanding an individual's culture, where they're coming from, that evaluation of, why are they the way that they are? More of a focus on the individualized piece of it versus its culture as a whole. And so there's a little bit of a shift in what that means in terms of, when we're looking at training our staff, like specifically for my staff at New Beginnings. One of the things that we are always super mindful of always is meeting the client where they're at. And why is that important? Rather than looking at the individual's culture as it being who they are, looking at the culture as more of an individualized process and being open to reflecting what does that mean for a Spanish individual. Not that all of the Spanish cultures in itself might be applicable to that particular individual, but what of those cultural norms and philosophies do they adhere to as a specific person? And so it's a little bit more granular than looking at the Spanish culture. What we're doing is narrowing it down into the individual in itself. And so, one of the things as I've been kind of reading this literature, preparing for this audit, was these are things that New Beginnings as an agency already does. And so one of the things that made me feel really good was that, wow, cultural humility is who we are in its core, who we are as our foundation and who we have always been for 11 years. So that really made me feel good about from an agency perspective when I'm looking at trainings. But I think that when we're looking at from a global perspective, what does that look like? And I think that people are hearing all the time cultural awareness, cultural competency, and its importance. But I think they're looking at it more from a bigger picture versus dialing down into the importance of that one individual and what that looks like.
I heard, and thank you for that. Like it's a different view of things because many of us look at the Latin culture. Here it is, but that's
Right.
not everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I heard this in the past year that when we look at somebody who is different, let's say different clothing, different culture, headdress, whatever it might be, we make a determination
Mhm.
in less than half a second. And really what it comes down to, that determination, is whether we feel safe. You're walking
Mhm.
down the street, you see somebody else, you process in less than half of a second, we're okay, we're not okay. Or we're okay, I'm not really sure we're okay. I'm not saying that's right at all, but that's the way our
Absolutely.
minds operate. And that's where we make these judgments that are most often incorrect and very inaccurate. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, so what we're doing is we're kind of profiling, right? We're making a
Yeah,
stigma. And so I know that we've talked in the past about the importance of even stigmatizing certain diagnoses and why it's so important to, again, look at the individual as a whole and not just look at the label, because if we don't look what's beneath the label, then we're not going to really truly understand what that person is experiencing. From a clinical perspective, that's the approach that we take. From a humanitarian perspective, I think that all of us as individuals need to really take that pause before we make an assumption of who's walking down the street and what is their ethnicity, what is their race, where are we getting this bias from that's making us feel, I'm not talking about if you've had your own experience where you've been victimized by a specific group and then you feel heightened when you're experiencing that. That's not what I'm referring to, because those are justified cautions, right? Our internal system is our alarms are going off because we've been in a similar situation. Not saying that we're in it again, but it's understandable why we would feel that way. I think what you're referring to is more just globally, that when there's a specific, yep, go ahead.
yes, exactly right. Yeah.
So,
It's just
so with
how we're,
stigmatized,
I guess through evolution, we're wired that way. I'm not
stigmatized,
saying it's right, but
right,
it's,
right, yeah,
you know, I guess to protect us. And we make these incorrect, rash judgments in less than a half second.
mhm,
And unfortunately, the profiling, I already made a decision. That person, I'm going to stay away from. Meanwhile, they may have so much to offer you in terms of insight, friendship, like so much. But right away, we put the block up.
right,
We put the
right.
block up. It's so
Mhm,
wrong. Yeah.
mhm.
Um,
And think about how that makes us feel as individuals, right? So if somebody looks at us at how we're dressed, what is our gender preference? Um, what culture, what nationality, what religion? We wouldn't want to be judged based
right.
on the choices that we're making. And just because somebody else's choice is different than what ours is, doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. I mean, there is no rule book that says there is one nationality, there is one religion, there is one set of beliefs that we should all adhere to. I mean, that's what makes us so eclectic and so amazing as a society, is because it's like, what are the melting pot, right? We're just made up of so many different parts, and the importance of respecting all of those different parts, because everybody brings something new to the table,
Totally true.
and
Yeah.
what we can learn.
Yeah. It's been said, if you don't have happiness, how do you know what sorrow is? All of that. Well, if you had a world full of Steves or a world full of Sherrys, that's all there was.
Right,
We wouldn't see other cultures. And, I'm not Italian. I can't cook, Italian food. You would
right,
never know what Italian food tastes like. You
correct,
know, there's so
right.
much. How do you deal with this on the mental health agency level?
So on the agency level, we are just, it's always constant communication, trainings, education, making sure that everybody on the provider level, including all of the admin staff as well, that we are all having the same message, and it's from the top down, right? We are role modeling exactly how we want everybody here culturally to behave and to be open-minded. And it's just it starts with the interview process, and I do all of the interviews at new beginnings because it's very important to me that everybody who comes here to work is a good fit. They have to have the flexibility, the open-mindedness, the ability to think outside the box, to meet people for where they're at, to not have that preconceived judgment or biases. And all of that comes from it starts at the screening process, but then it's that ongoing training, and it's our weekly meetings. It's our supervision to make sure that everybody is adhering to what it is that we're teaching and what our methods are here, and the importance of, and you would hope that if you're in this field, that you have this open-mindedness. Unfortunately, that's not been my experience, that everybody has that open-mindedness. And so it's really kind of digging down and making sure that everybody really understands and believes in the philosophy of the agency, because I think that every agency has its own different culture. Our culture here just happens to be more of a open-minded, meet our individuals where they're at, and not just jump into a diagnosis, not just jump into, what we think is in the best interest of our client, but to really listen to the needs of the client. And that in itself is such a large component of, what is their culture? What is their family dynamics? What is their belief system? And it doesn't have to necessarily be rooted in their nationality. We don't know how a Spanish individual could have been raised by an African American family or a Caucasian family, or, really taking the time to understand how were they being raised? What is their family norm? And taking it even a step further, because however they were raised may not be their individual philosophy. So that's why it's really important to dig down and individualize everybody and meeting them where they're at. Because just because their families believed in one thing or their children believe in one thing, it doesn't mean that that's what they believe in.
100%.
And it's really, so we do a ton of trainings and, just enforcement of that here in conversations. And we have so many meetings and so many supervisions, and there's just so much kind of collaboration that we do here as an agency. We don't micromanage, not even a little bit, but we do have all these conversations that help everybody to kind of bounce ideas off each other and understand, or, overcome barriers or things that are stopping us from being able to treat at that individualized level.
Yeah, you can't make assumptions on anything here. And even if it's, let's say, and I won't even mention the culture, but somebody I spoke with, her culture is of a certain type, and the expectation of her parents is a certain situation, and that wasn't her. And they wanted her to go down this career path. That wasn't her. And so she went in a different direction. There was a little bit of pushback. Things are better now. But if we were to assume this particular culture, this is how they roll, on average, we would be wrong for this one particular individual. And like you said, everything is individualized. Does it come down to one word: listening?
Oh, for sure. Yes, absolutely. Being mindful and being open-minded is just so important. You would not believe the amount of families that we work with that we come across this exact scenario where the parents come from a different country. And when they came here, they have their own set of philosophies on how their children should be raised, and the use of electronics, the use of the dating, going to proms, hanging out with friends, what they can wear, culturally is very different than here in the United States. So a large part of what we do when we work with these families under the in-home therapy model is really helping to not just educate the parents, but also educate the kiddos of where their parents are coming from. And so that everybody really understands each other as a family. So our job is to go in and open that communication, not to pass judgment on what the parents or the children are doing, but to help them to understand that attunement skill, helping them to be in alignment with each other and understand that this is mom and dad's culture. This is where they're coming from. This is how they were raised. And how do we help them to understand, what it is that their kids, that, their teenagers are acting out because they want to be able to do the things that their friends are doing and they're not allowed to. And so helping the parents to understand the struggle of the kid, and then finding a way that collaboratively we can connect this family back together so that they can move forward, because our job is short term. Our job is to get in and give the skills, the attunement skills, the communication skills, the problem solving skills, and then come out once that family is stabilized. But a large number of our families here in Worcester, we come up with that exact scenario that you just talked about. It's not only just with culture, but it's also with the LGBT community. I mean, we could do a whole segment on the changes in administration and what has happened with the removal of so many support systems. And culturally, where does that leave such a large number of our clients who went from having these supports to overnight having nothing that's available to them? No support systems, no understanding, flexibility. I mean, we don't even talk about, like, this is just, we've put it on the back burner now, and it's so prevalent, and it's such a sad society that we're kind of moving towards, where we've gone from being so open-minded and so supportive to all of a sudden, all of those resources have been taken away. And the only person that is left to bridge it are the mental health professionals.
Wow.
Right?
That's
Imagine.
that's a heavy load on your team, in the struggles and challenges that people go through. I mean, so many are going through so much in terms of stress, anxiety, personal situations, professional, on and on. Now add this cultural situation, just complicates things even more.
Mhm.
And the feelings of, and I have to imagine, one of the lowest vibration you can have, as I understand it, is shame.
Mm. Mhm. Mm.
Energetically. I never knew that until last couple of months. I heard that. I always thought it was sadness. That's low. That doesn't feel good. Shame is below that. So think of how much shame must be involved, connected to a cultural indifferences or beliefs or expectations and all of that. You got a lot of work going on there.
Well, and okay, so we put all of these resources in place to help support and to diversify us. And then all of these resources are gone. There's no titration, there's no transition, there's no, okay, there's one group left before the program shuts down. So we've basically erased everything that we've done for, society in a pretty drastic way, and just said, okay, well, the government just can't support this anymore. Done. That's it. There's no other explanation. There's no, well, now what? What happens? Like, to the people who were really relying on, I know you want to get into the medical treatment piece of it, that the detriment with that, because that in itself is just so disturbing. But the mental health piece of it is, now we have a large population of people who aren't being supported, and all their support systems have been cut, and then they're being told, okay, well, there's nothing that we can do for you.
Hmm.
And now you're going to go on a 6-month wait list for mental health services because everybody is flooded.
It's been that way for years,
It really
right?
has. And, just even looking at, I mean, I'm running my statistics and my numbers to prepare for my meeting this week. And the amount of practitioners, the providers who want to come into this field and do the home-based, really hard work with these families who are really struggling. I mean, we're down 30 cases from last year. We were holding steady at 55 home-based cases to 25 a year later.
Now, I just want to make sure I have that clear. What type of cases?
So these are our home-based in-home therapy, which is the Massachusetts CBHI program, where we intensively spend 5 to 7 hours with a family to stabilize them. So the amount of providers that we have reduced that want to go into the community, it's really very sad. What's happening is the temperature has just changed so much, with people wanting to go into homes, or people who want to spend the time to be able to work with these families in crisis, and what that looks like, because the resources and the support just isn't there. And so it's really turning into 2025 is really turning into a very concerning
Wow.
year in terms of support for these families who are suffering.
Now, what you're referring to is, and it's very different. Your health system for mental health is completely different than I've ever heard of,
Yeah.
and they allow practitioners to go into homes and
Mhm.
work with them in that way. Are you saying that you have less staff or providers available to do that?
Correct.
Because not
Mhm.
everybody wants to do it. I mean, I
No,
understand.
right, and that's across the board. It's not just our agency. I mean,
Sure.
the program in itself is really trying hard to um, triage what it is that's happening and why, more people don't want to continue to do this specific program. And so their answers to it are not really long-term solutions, in my
Right.
opinion. So, I do voice my opinion at some of these meetings, but I mean, I don't, we could just get into a whole other topic about systemically where the problems are, the cracks, but
Mm.
only really I can only take care of what's happening at New Beginnings and make sure that we're doing things to support staff the best that we can. And even given that, finding the providers that still want to continue to work in these programs to help stabilize these kids from
Sure.
being removed from their home. I mean, the like I said, the support and the resources has just really has just taken a turn not for the better. So it's
And you have so much at play here. You have the state and how they look at things and make changes. You have staff. I don't mean just yours, just across the board. It takes a very special person to work with others on the mental health level. Now take that person and find those who are comfortable going into a home. Not many are. And let's be honest, ever since COVID,
COVID.
a lot of people got used to working virtually. I don't know many mental health practitioners that see people in person. It's a
Right.
lot of this is virtual. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, although I think you would agree in some regards, especially when it comes to younger people and children, there's nothing better than being in person.
Well, right. And this is family work. So we're going in and
Right.
we're meeting with the caregiver or the parent and the all of
Yep.
those that are in the home. I mean, that's just not, I mean, I
That's
really
big. That's heavy. There's a lot. Let's just look at it this way. The examples that we gave before,
yeah,
Sherry, where you have somebody who doesn't align with their parents, um, their
last
beliefs,
houses, yeah.
generational beliefs. That's where I was going.
Mhm.
And now you have to be the bridge in between them, almost like the mediator in some regards. And that can get a little sticky there too. One thing if it's virtual on separate screens, but when you're in that situation, that's not everybody can do that. And I
Mhm.
don't I don't suggest everybody have those skills. It takes very few can.
Right, right, for sure. And when we get our referrals in, I mean, we review them and I,
Sure.
assign based on, I mean, I have certain providers that specialize in specific parts of Worcester or, depending on what is going on. I mean, I have some of my clients that I know that I'm going to send into, the most defiant of the teams versus ones that, maybe it's a 5 or 6 year, so, I mean,
Yep.
we definitely try to match up, but because knowing and understanding, I mean, I did it for almost 10 years, the home-based stuff.
Wow.
It's intensive, it's rewarding, and you gather more information than you will ever gather in a 1 hour session, Zoom or in person or in person.
I totally feel that and totally got it. I really do. Because you're seeing somebody in their domain, their world.
Right.
And you pick up on cues and all of that. And the word you said it, I guess it was marinating in my head, but it didn't come out of my mouth. Intensive. That's intense.
Mhm.
And with good reason. Sherry, we went a little deeper here today, but I got to tell you, this is a side of mental health that we don't see. It's almost as if we're peeling back the curtain so we can all take a look at what's actually going on here, the challenges within, even on the state level, what they provide for or what they don't after time. Um, and this is a good awareness for all of us. Really was.
And,
Yeah.
and I think that what all of us can do individually, I know we have to end, is just be non-judgmental,
Yeah.
right? Be kind, it's free.
100%. I do a radio show and and we play music. I mean, doing this forever. I end every one with be kind to yourself and others. That's the
Yeah.
last words every single day I say because I believe in it. Yeah, we beat ourselves up, so let's be nicer to each other and others. That stat that we judge somebody on the street corner in half a second, well, make that 3 seconds. Make that 5 seconds. Go over and say hello. Then make your judgment if you need to.
Well, and what gives you the right to judge?
Oh, then there's that.
Who are we individually that we feel like we even have the right? I mean, we're all in glass houses over here.
100%.
None
It
of
was
us have the right to throw a stone. Not one of us.
no, and there was an exercise in a group that I'm in. We did a couple of months ago where we were tasked with looking around the room, 10 different men, and telling what we don't like about them, things that bother us about them. And when it was all over, then it was revealed, oh yeah, all those things you said about each one of them here, that's you. You're talking about the things you don't like about you.
And there's your
Like,
dark side of your shadow, right? Isn't that shadow work?
oh, I never heard it that way. The dark side of your shadow. And there it
Right.
was. So when you,
Well, because the things that bother us the most about other people are typically traits within ourselves that we just don't want to admit, right? Those are
well,
our shadows, right? That's
in that case, nothing bothers me about anybody.
right.
I'll just go with that.
Yeah, because you know what? Who's to say what the right or wrong thing is, right?
Absolutely.
None of us had, there is no scroll book, there is no playbook for any of this.
Newbeginningswc.com is your website?
Correct.
Yeah. Anybody's got any comments, suggestions, want, dig in deeper, need some therapy on, doesn't matter if you're in Massachusetts or anywhere virtually. Would love to hear from you. Also, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. Keep it anonymous if that feels good. Sherri Ann, thank you for today. This has been an eye opener and I truly appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you very
Thanks.
much. It's
All right.
always a pleasure.
Same. We'll catch up soon. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.